What it mean to be the best? Riding foes, feeling unimpressed. Make me reminisce, throwing bows, bend the corner, set my mind up on a goal. All I know is stay down, bad, I'm the goal. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. I ain't gotta say much. Know the boy got a touch. Another win for the rush. Another win for the rush. See me once and got a crush. See you twice and that's enough. Get the ring sized up.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Tell the Truth. Back here for week 4. I am back. Here, obviously, D Mac. Here with DG and CJ. Good to be back at it, man.
Hit that DG, baby.
Yeah, have you seen them? Tell me, have you seen them?
But yes, happy to be back. How are you guys feeling, man? How you guys feeling?
Hit that DG.
Good, man. 3-0 vibes, pulling out these tough wins. So, just ready for these dudes to put it all together eventually at some point. So, yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Can't complain about 3-0.
Okay. And you gotta love that we started, just another one where the Chiefs came out, got walked down that first drive. The Falcons offense had no issues. They got whatever they wanted on that first drive, and then defense bucked up pretty much for the rest of the game. After that, offense came down. Mahomes had a god awful interception. I gotta say, there was just no reason to throw that ball. But offense got it together, put some points on the board, and obviously you get out of there with a win that was extremely, extremely stressful. Because that's the only thing that the Chiefs decide to do is stress us out and win ball games at the end of them. But yeah, so we'll obviously dive into it a little bit more specifically than that. And starting on the offensive end, obviously we had some question mark about who was going to end up starting a left tackle. It ended up being Wanya Morris, ultimately speaking. And we could say the offensive line, I'd say, did a pretty good job. I believe it was the second lowest pressure rate that Patrick Mahomes has faced in a game in his career. So he was not put under the gun from the Falcons pass rush. He had time to operate. Even so, I think we can fairly say that it was not a good performance though from Patrick Mahomes. But before we talk about kind of the overall negatives, things of that nature, we can't start on the offensive side of the ball and kind of get into what were the offensive standouts from you guys' perspective as far as the Chiefs win over the Falcons.
Man, another week. Big
Foe. Stop playing with Big Foe,
Yeah,
man. I told y'all since day one, man.
Look, a lot of people, there's talks in the Twitter streets that Big Foe is a top 10 receiver, man.
Big Foe, stop playing.
I mean, yeah, what can you say about Rashee Rice, man? He's been stellar so far through these first 3 games. I think he's definitely established that role that he's the guy now. He's who's Pat ultimately looking for. Not saying he's not looking for Travis Kelce anymore or anything like that, but at the same time you can clearly see the emergence, the importance of what he brings to this offense. And Sunday night was just another example of how much he's improved, over these last 2 seasons. I think he's really becoming a threat to this league. I think a lot of people are starting to really look at him and see his name and understand that they have to game plan for him now. They have to rotate coverages his way, and that he's doing his thing, man. Like he's so impressive, man, especially after the catch. Once he gets the ball in his hands, you just know he's getting at least 5, 6, 7 yards of yak afterwards.
Yak man.
Yeah, man. It's just he's getting great opportunities. I feel like him and Pat's chemistry is really coming together a lot. That route right there is I was watching that on film the other day, and that's a Travis Kelce route. Like that, you've seen Trav do that route several times, so I can clearly tell he's taking over that role. They're starting to really trust him to do some things in this offense that they haven't really been able to trust anybody else to do. So proud of him, man. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say really quickly, when you say that Travis Kelce route, specifically when you have that 3-by-1 set and Travis, and sometimes we run this out of 12 personnel as well. This is kind of an example where they move Travis over. You know, they have Carson Steele on the line of scrimmage on the other side. But essentially, you get to that 3-by-1 set where, you know, guys isolate on the back end. Travis here chip blocks, but running that sail stop in the middle of the field as you have some clear outs on the outside there, and just having Rashee Rice just have the feel to stop where in the zone is, it's absolutely a Travis Kelce route. So seeing his evolution, certainly, absolutely great to see. Sorry, keep on going with your point, though.
Nah, you said it all right there, man. I mean, like to see him do that when I seen that play come up, I was like, yeah, that used to be draft. And so now to see him doing it, and them, like I said, having that chemistry, being on that same, you can kind of tell they're building that same telepathic connection that, you know, that Pat and Trav have is really coming together between him and Rashee. And it just seems like Pat just knows where he's gonna be. I know a lot of people were probably speculating like, why is Pat not spreading the ball around? Or, I mean, the guy's open. Like, after, like,
not
the floor is open at this point, bro. Just throw him the ball. Like, if you got to give it to him, and he had 14 targets in this game. Like, I think we just got to get used to the fact that this is our go-to guy now. And if he's cooking and he's open, throw him the ball, man. Let him work.
Damn, you should be mad at the defense for not covering him. Don't get mad at him.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and look, the way you say it, it's really simple as that. He is the number one target in this offense, and he's the number one target in this offense, and it's not like where it was last year, where obviously we knew Travis Kelce was kind of managing himself throughout the regular season, particularly during the back half, but it's because he's good enough to be the number one target in this offense. He brings the yards after catch ability that we saw last year. He's brought an increased feel in being able to attack zone coverages and where to sit down, again, with that mind meld that he and Kelce are developing. And he's also beating man coverage when he does see it. So that's the reality of the situation. When you can be a complete receiver, do these things as far as the smoke, you know, quick screens, as quick smoke screens, you know, the bubbles, things of that nature, run out of the backfield and catch the ball, but also run that sail, you know, sit from the third guy as far as the 3-by-1 set is concerned, and be able to sit down in zone coverage effectively, be able to beat guys on crossers man to man. And I'm going to try and find that specific one, because that's the one that really is fun. But we can watch this here. Motioning inside. We've seen Kelce do this a million times. 2 clear out routes. You do the out route, and you know, that's where Rashee Rice gets you to the corner to get you in the end zone from that standpoint. So being able to do that variety of things is most important ultimately. And that's what a true number one target has to look like in this league. You have to be able to beat guys in a variety of aspects. And specifically when Andy Reid is putting you into really good situations to succeed, that's also important. So this one specifically is the one that I want to bring up. Later on in the game, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get, you know, obviously a 3-by-1 set to the bottom here. Noah Gray's going to motion inside. And essentially what ends up happening, it turns into a man-match situation where Mike Hughes is trying to run with Rashee Rice, and Patrick Mahomes puts it flat out on the money. And because Rashee Rice hands goes up, makes the catch, where Patrick Mahomes put the ball out in front of him, and he runs away from Mike Hughes as well in that man-match situation. Hey, guess what? That's what number one wide receiver is supposed to do in those situations, is convert those crossers into long games and explosive. So
that's a beautiful layer ball.
That's his best throw of the game for sure. It's not even close. That was the best.
That might be his best throw of the season so far.
Run that back to the front view from the field goal view, bro. That's amazing. Like, you see 2 defenders, Mike Hughes and the linebacker underneath. If he puts that ball like a foot low or too high, it's either overthrown or picked off. That's perfect ball placement, bro.
No, yeah, 55 is underneath this throw. Right. As well as you could possibly ask. AJ Terrell is over top of it. Hughes is, you know, behind him. This throw can only be in that very small window in which Mahomes puts it to complete it. And ultimately speaking, that is. Yeah, that's definitely one of the higher highlights, I would say, as well. Another person I did want to shout out as far as offense is concerned, got it. And I am somebody that is going to take accountability and tell the truth. I did not think that Carson Steele was going to be able to step up in the way he did. Got to give that man his flowers. He absolutely was able to. He stepped up. He was able to be more than just a short yardage back. I still ultimately feel like that's probably the best way to use him, but he stepped up and did more than that. And you got to tip your cap to that kid. I think he had over 70 yards rushing, was efficient in doing so.
I think he had 5 runs for first downs as well.
Yes, very he did. And he's one of the leaders in success rate, which, again, when you're a short yardage back, that makes a lot of sense. But he did a lot more than that in this game. You got to give him credit for that. He did very well in pass pro as well. So definitely tip your cap. I will say Samaje Perine looked pretty spry. So first game, no Isaiah Pacheco. Obviously, we'll talk about the new running back condition as well that's been brought up to the active roster. But that pairing, early return, certainly worked well. And that's good to hear. CJ, DG, anybody else you want to highlight as far as offensive standouts from this game versus the Falcons?
Definitely Wanye Morris. I didn't hear his name essentially all night. I was at the game, obviously, so there were some penalties that we can get into that side on the defensive side of the ball. But from an offensive standpoint, I didn't hear Wanye's name pretty much at all. Obviously, the telecast will tell you more when you're watching the game, but I didn't pretty much hear any penalties for his name. So compared to from a week ago when we saw Kingsley getting a lot of work from Trey Hendrickson, and obviously, no disrespect to Matt Judon, but Trey Hendrickson is a better player at this point in his time in his career. But to have that much of a transition from last week to this week, I think we all were pleasantly surprised from what we saw from Wanye, from a guy who I know I called him being a starter going into training camp, but obviously Andy and the guys on offense saw something differently. That's why Kingsley got most of the reps up there in St. Joe, and then going into the season, Kingsley was named a starter. And then we said coming into the season, if things happen via injury and knock on wood, we don't want that to happen, Wanye would get an opportunity, and it happened to be Kingsley not playing well. But based off what I saw, he was great in run game, good in pass pro. I didn't really hit Judon getting the backfield too much during the game as well. The chip help was amazing. Obviously, guys had to have their moments in that regard. But from a one-on-one standpoint, Wanye played good. He's always been a great run blocker. He mauls guys. He has good first step, gets guys off the ball. The question with him is always athleticism. Kingsley hasn't beat in that regard. He's a more athletic left tackle. But from a strength standpoint, I think Wanye is more nasty, more stronger, probably has better hand placement as well. So he played well on Sunday night. I love what I saw. I'm sure we'll break more down when we get into film to it. But Wanye was definitely my offensive standout outside of Rasheed for sure.
Yeah, I'll say I certainly agree from that standpoint. I think this is kind of just the one that I had a little bit of issue with Wanye Morris there. Just kind of gets caught on the inside, rolling with the edge, and they have a looper come from the inside to be able to get outside and cause some pressure on Patrick Mahomes. You'll see it here. And again, that's difficult because they present the 5-man front to try and create that one-on-one. Wanye just simply doesn't, be able to get out there. And it's tough for his athleticism as well to be able to do so. So that's not the easiest play. And I'll certainly say that he did get beat one-on-one later on in the game. The things happen. He's replacement left tackle. Sometimes it's going to happen. And ultimately speaking, the Falcons don't present that great of a pass rush difficulty from that standpoint. They gave him the appropriate help to make sure the offensive line operated at a good level. And again, in the same way that I've said it with Kingsley, same thing applies to Wanye Morris because Jawan Taylor is performing like one of the best right tackles in the game, point blank period, because we heard a whole lot about it this time last year, people trying to kill him for the money that we gave him. He's performing like one of the best right tackles in the game, and y'all got to give him his flowers for that. We know what the interior 3 does. So now you have 4 guys that are playing at a good to great level across the offensive line. You can do what is necessary to help out that left tackle as well. And I think Wanye did a solid job from that. And he also helped out in the run game. You got to give that man a lot of credit from that aspect as well. DG, do you want to say something?
On that play,
either one of you guys.
On that one. Go ahead, DJ.
I just want to say to all you Jawan Taylor haters.
Boy, y'all hate that man, boy. God damn.
To all you, y'all owe that man an apology.
Send them flowers right now.
And I want to see it. I want to see it on Twitter.
On the timeline.
Look, on the timeline, it was a lot of complaining last year. And I think me, CJ, and D-Mac sit here last year and told y'all that it was going to take him time to get, immersed into this offense and get used to playing with a quarterback like Pat. There's a different, unique skill set that Pat has that, a lot of tackles have to adapt to playing with him. So the work that I think that Juwan, I'm proud of the work that Juwan has put in over the offseason. You can clearly see it on the field this year. And you're right, man. When you don't hear a tackle's name,
that's a great job.
That's a great sign. And I haven't heard his name all year so far.
Keep it up.
Not saying that that he's not gonna have. And of course, you always gonna have games where you have an off game, and technique is not there. You play a little sloppy or something like that. So, but at the end of the day, man, he's been lights out. He's been really protecting, that front side of Pat, keeping him clean, and man.
And also, DG, when we're talking about protection, please be mindful, people. I know we don't get to watch all of the plays because it's a game you're trying to get on to the next snap. There are plenty of times when the running back who's opposed to chip or pick up a blitz doesn't pick up the blitz, so the lineman may look like he's at fault. So when we're watching these plays, be mindful because on the interception, like D-Mac mentioned earlier, Carson Steele actually missed the blitz pickup. He slipped out trying to go for a route. If he picks up that blitz, I still agree Pat threw a bad ball. He lofted it in the air, which is still a terrible decision by him. Well, not decision of the placement, but like how you threw the ball. If Carson Steele picks up that blitz, maybe Pat gets a little more time to maybe put a little more zip and effort into that ball as well. But running backs are just as important in pass pro as their linemen are, so just be mindful of that too.
Yeah,
and the entire call is absolutely the tight end alignment. All those things do play a factor in that as well. And sometimes, look, the quarterback got to get the ball in his hands too. He can't hold it back there forever and put his offensive lineman in a bad spot. So yeah, that kind of is the offensive standout aspect of it. I think that I'll speak for myself at least. I don't think that Patrick Mahomes played well, particularly in the first half. Struggled, and he kind of talked about this going forward. Footwork needs to be better. Yeah, a lot of bad accuracy misses from that standpoint. Obviously, you mentioned the bad decision on the interception. It's a bad decision, kind of, and then also the bad throw on top of it. That doesn't help. I think that there were also a lot of missed shots, I will say, to Xavier Worthy.
Yep.
Yeah, and he came out that first drive and was underthrowing a lot of people specifically.
That's a fact.
And specifically Miss Xavier Worthy on that. I think that was also on that drive because he should have had that touchdown where he either puts it on the back line or you throw it over to the right of the end zone and allows him to go run under it. Yeah, so it's got to be a better game for Patrick Mahomes. But the reality situation is I don't think Patrick Mahomes has played particularly well. I think he was solid against the Ravens. I think he was okay against the Bengals, maybe a little bit better on tape than the end result might have shown, but bad against the Falcons. And ultimately, this team is still 3-0. I know he's going to get better throughout the course of the season. I think that's just a given fact at this point. If you don't believe it, God bless you. You haven't been watching. So I'm fully capable, or I should say fully confident in him getting better over the course of the season from that aspect. Anything else you guys want to point out as far as the offensive performance before we flip to the other side of the ball?
Oh, man. I think we covered it all.
Pretty much everybody did their job. Shout out Samaje coming in, sparing Karen. Give everybody a little rest time.
Yep.
I love what he did on third
Chip,
down.
I feel like Chip Help was better this week too.
Absolutely. That's just cohesion. Just like chemistry we talk about with receivers and quarterbacks, it's the same thing with linemen and running backs as well. You guys are talking about blitz pickup during the week and in those meeting rooms. There may be a look that you get in game that you didn't see during the week on film. So that's when you go back to the huddle, recoup, obviously say, hey, if we're going to give us this look, this is how we're going to pick it up. Who's sliding, who's shipping here. And everybody that has to get in sync is just as much as the running backs. And Samaje's been here 2 weeks. Carson Steele wasn't even projected to be this much of an influence in our offense until last week when Pacheco went down. So those guys are getting immersed in the system just as much as the linemen were a year ago when DG mentioned Jawan Taylor. So everything comes with time. They don't just pick things up in a week. That's what a whole week of practice can do for you and a film session can do for you, even what halftime can do for you. Anytime you get time to go over blitz pickup, go over film, go over communication, and know how you're going to pick things up, you get 10 times better, more communication, 10 times better chemistry as a front line. So when they have those blitz pickups, Pat's comfortable. Obviously, Creed is well to call it out. The guys know who's picking up who. We know which way we're sliding, and then we can go out there and dice up these defenses. So chemistry and time is always important when you talk about blitz pickup.
Yeah. Can't say that's wrong at all. There we go. Just getting confused by that for a second. Sorry. But yeah, so let's talk about the other side of the ball. Defensive standouts. Obviously, this team, once again, had a great defensive game, in my personal opinion. Again, obviously got walked down in the first drive. Got to give tip your cap to a really good scripted drive.
First 15.
From Zach Robinson and the Falcons on that side of the ball. Second drive, I'm sorry. I know we won't talk about the refs here. It is what it is. If you want to talk about the refs, you got to talk about the fact that they got 7 points because Chris Jones didn't put a pillow on Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry. That's not roughing the passer.
You can say that he got with him, bro.
You can say he got a step late. I don't think it was really a step late. He didn't wrap him down and throw him down. Exactly. He just lightly tapped him and he fell down. And that's insane to have a roughing call there. Never mind the fact that he was getting choked out by the offensive lineman during that play.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
they got the 7 points there. They added a field goal later on. I thought 17 points, given the circumstances, and especially given that it came with also 2 4-down goal line esque stops, later on in the game. You got to tip your cap to the defense. They had a great game from that standpoint. Talk about individual efforts that you guys really want to highlight as far as the defensive side of the ball from the Chiefs.
Shamari Connor, I've been saying it all year. I'm going to say it again. He's arguably been the best defensive player on our team for the first 3 weeks. I know Turk has had a big season so far, and he's been playing out of his mind, but Shamari Connor is literally doing everything for this defense you can ask. He's blitzing. He's getting turnovers. He's playing deep safety. He's playing middle of the field robber. He's making plays on the ball, tackling as well. There's nothing that 2-7 can't do. And obviously, we knew coming into the season, that's the group I was the most excited about was the safety group, but Shamari Connor has been easily a top 2 player on this defense for the season so far, no question.
Yeah, Shamari has been phenomenal. Watching him on film was a treat, man, because that dude is everywhere.
Everywhere, bro.
It was not a play, not a tackle, not a pass that I didn't see 27. Yeah, man, he's everywhere. He flies around. He's willing to stick his hat in there and come up and make a big hit. Then he has the interception off the, of course, the tip pass from Turk or whatever. I want to speak about him too as well. I think Tershawn Wharton is really, I think he's been playing probably his best career ball this year.
Absolutely.
Tershawn Wharton has been a major factor on that defensive line this year for them. He's playing. I said it this morning. He's playing out of his mind at this point. He's making so many plays and so many impactful plays that don't show up, of course, in the stat sheets. Of course, he's not going to lead the league in sacks or anything like that. But, man, even in the run game, Turk has been a wall as far as, plugging the hole and sticking to his gap at this point in time. Like, he's been a phenomenal. So, him, Shamari Connor, and Tershawn Wharton are both my defensive standouts especially for this game as well.
Absolutely. Pass rush, rate, getting off the ball, TFLs. Turk's doing everything right now. He's arguably been behind Chris and George. Has been our third best D lineman for sure. You can arguably say he's number 2, but every game he's making a play, whether it be TFLs or sacks, like DG said. Turk's doing everything right now.
The crazy part is that you don't, pass rush rise. You expect him to bring it on those downs or whatever, but the way he's been playing in the run defense has been phenomenal as well too. So the fact that
never going to get double teamed either.
Yeah, Spags doesn't have to take him off the field on certain rundowns. I'm really appreciative of that at this point. Yeah.
His job is only going to get easier too, because he's never going to get double teamed. He's never going to see doubles. You guys like Chris Jones and George Karlaftis.
Yeah, I mean this right here is an example of it. And you could just say just Chris Jones in and of itself. Look, the way that Kirk Cousins said in his projection, he's like, okay, well, look, I got 5 guys. They're not showing anything exotic. We're going to slide to Chris. We're going to leave Tershawn Wharton one-on-one with an all-pro right guard and Chris Lindstrom and say, hey, Chris, you can handle that. Guess what Tershawn Wharton does? He walks right back into Kirk's lap and gets to Kirk's arm, and Shamari Connor has a pick.
Tips and over those.
I forgot they flipped that as well. But look, that Tershawn Wharton to this point, and I do want to shout out Brandon Thorne on this, because he does this specifically on his Substack, Trench Warfare, which is an excellent resource if you're trying to learn more about the game of football, specifically from the trenches. But he does, pressure ratio specifically of high quality pressures, and it takes into account who you're being blocked by, how many people you're getting blocked by, et cetera, et cetera. Tershawn Wharton to this point is the most efficient pass rusher by that metric in the NFL, point blank period, as far as interior defensive lineman. He's better than Chris Jones at this point. In that, again, highlighting who he's playing against, how many people he's been blocked by. And that's just a testament to how well he's playing the position right now. He's fully back from that ACL. He's causing havoc inside. And to your also point is that he is also creating those plays in the run game and being stout against the run. For a guy his size, that's an important piece of that. But I also wanted to highlight this one as well. Again, this is a little bit different, throwing a 5-man front instead. And obviously, Drew Tranquil's kind of dogging here, but that spin move was fun. That spin move was fun. But I did also want to highlight Drew Tranquil's hustle there to be able to get back and obviously keep that at a 3rd and 1, which could have been easily a first down. And that led subsequently to the 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 stops. And they deserve that highlight as well because that's a hustle play. But I'm going to use the Drew Tranquil aspect of it to say this linebacker crew really stepped up its game. Nick Bolton had a spectacular game, in my opinion. Leo Chanel had probably the most impactful 14 snaps I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how he only played 14 snaps, but it was impressive because he was everywhere. And Drew Tranquil, again, had a very good game. And so you got to give a lot of credit to this linebacker core and specifically their versatility. You held Bijan Robinson at 3.3 yards per carry. That right there is a win in and of itself.
That's really skewed. It was like 1.9 for most of the game, so we're gonna.
Yeah, I know he had won it bigger, but I'll take 3.3 either way.
Great job.
Absolutely, and some of that's also what the defensive line was able to do. But shout out, in my opinion, the linebacker room specifically also deserves that. In addition to Tershawn Warren, who right now, and I'll say this because I is a secondary conversation about edge rushers. We have needed what Tershawn Warren has brought to the table alongside Chris Jones to get pressure on the quarterback because the edge rushers are struggling to this point as well. Anybody else you guys want to highlight as far as defense standouts?
I mean, outside of the call that was a phantom call, Trent McDuffie. I mean, he's doing what he does. Nick Bolton had a
MIZ-ZOU
masterclass. Nick Bolton masterclass. Oh yeah, flowers for Juwan, and we're gonna start doing flowers of the week on this show. Flowers of the week for one, we give it to Juwan Taylor. Flowers of the week as well, we're giving it to Nick Bolton. Those are the two guys get flowers of the week for me. Absolutely. Because all that y'all be talking about Nick Bolton ain't good in coverage. When it comes, I know he has his flaws. I'm not saying that's not valid. When it comes to stopping that run, you can't tell me nothing about 3-2. When there's a play to be made in the backfield, 3-2 is usually around the ball. So if you're going to talk about that, just like we said last week and the week before, you got to talk about both sides of the ball if we're going to do that. And Nick Bolton always shows up when it's time to stop the run.
Yeah, Nick on Sunday was
everywhere,
impactful, and man, just you can clearly tell without him on the field, this defense isn't the same. And I know he gets a lot of flack about his cover skills and things of that nature. But man, you gotta, when you go to war, you gotta have your general on the field.
Right.
And he gets people. I think a lot of people don't understand this run defense is played as well as it has because of him. Getting people lined up correctly and having that kind of communication and chemistry that he has with Drew as well. That the 4th and inches play, that's a big microcosm of everybody on the defense doing their job and not trying to be the hero. And fortunately enough, Nick actually ends up becoming the hero on that play or whatever. But still, he still has to scrape, do his job, get back there and make the play. And man, I'm so proud of this team for the way that they tackle in open space. That used to be a big problem, especially in the Bob Sutton days, where this defense was so horrible at tackling in space and missed tackles and things of that nature. And now you can win the game knowing now that that's not going to happen. Especially, and I think a lot of that has to do with Nick Bolton being in town.
Absolutely. All pro type of play right there.
Mm.
Yeah. And like you said, it wasn't just an all pro type of play from obviously from Nick Bolton. It was all pro type play from Leo Chanel, from Mike Pennell, from Chris Jones, and Tershawn Ward, because they blew them off the ball, to say the least. It was impressive. Yeah. It was absolutely impressive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
I just want to say, Steve Spagnuolo. You got a lot of cojones. Just big, real big cojones. Because to take your best defensive player off the field on 4th and inches, your all-pro defensive tackle.
That's a bold play.
Mike Pennell, your backup defensive tackle in the game. It was right alongside with Leo Chanel. That just, to me, takes big cojones to do, and they executed it perfectly, man. that lets me know how diabolical Steve Spagnuolo really
and
is.
Joe Cullen. That shows you how good of a D-line coach he is to trust those guys. Because
to trust those guys, to take a guy off the field that you clearly know is an All-Pro and will really probably be able to help you in that situation as well too. But to have that trust in the rest of those guys to go out there and make that play is phenomenal to see.
Early take for most improved would definitely be Leo Chenal for me. Like D-Mac said, like obviously like him and Chamari have big roles for this team, but those are the two guys who just I have to do a lot of different roles and wear a lot of different hats every week. We've seen Leo play 3-tech. We've seen him play edge. We've seen him play off-ball linebacker at times. Chamari's playing nickel. He's playing dime. He's playing the star position. He's blitzing at times. He's making plays on the ball. Those two guys are easily the two most versatile players in our defense right now. And last year, we could say those two guys were probably either Trent McDuffie and maybe at times you could say Shamari Connor with his role at the end of the year, maybe like a Willie Gay or Drew Tranquil. But this year, those two guys have been easily the most versatile players in our defense, arguably the two most important players because they just have to wear so many different hats and do so many different things. And when you're able to switch your role every week and teams don't know where you're going to line up, that makes it harder for you to line up as a defense. Because if I'm an offensive coordinator and I'm coming to a situation I don't see Chris Jones, I think you're crazy. But as EG said, the fact that they trusted Mike Pennell to go in there and make that play, who we haven't been able – this is our first time seeing a regular season Mike Pennell. We've always had him in later on in the year, December, for playoffs. So now we're getting him throughout the first 4 months of the season. So this is a lot of Chiefs fans' first time really getting to see full-time what Mike Pennell can do. And if this is what we're getting now, we know what he does in January. So I'm fully excited for this D-line group. We've gotten updates today that Charles Amini, who's on close to coming back as well. So this D-line group is only going to get scarier, given the fact we do need more edge help, like D-Mac said earlier. So I'm fully excited for this D-line group because we've been elite at stopping the run so far, elite at it, and that's only going to help us get better.
Yeah, look, and that's the thing about Charles Amini who come back. I think that the edges that they have right now are going to get better. We obviously saw Felix have. I think
he set the edge a couple of great times. Felix did.
He did, and that's the thing about the edge conversation is this. Right now, their two best rushers to this point are in the inside, Chris Jones, Tershawn Ward. They have gotten really good edge play from a run defense standpoint. Both Mike Dana, George Karlaftis done it effectively. Felix, for the snap he's been asked to, also has as well. Problem with getting Felix more involved is he's not necessarily better than those other two guys, so it's more of a breather thing than a consistent feature. And again, you could use somebody that's coming off the edge with pass rush ability right now, and he's not necessarily providing that. Again, the other starting two guys aren't right now. So I don't know if it's more Cam Thomas, but I do expect that these guys are going to get better over the course of the season. And we'll kind of roll into that as we get into the game preview for next week, because I think that's an important feature as well. But Charles Amini, who come back, obviously we know is going to be a key part of that as well. And look, whatever it comes down to it, you add what Tershawn Ward's doing with Chris Jones, you add Charles Amini, who back into it, you expect that development from those guys to get better, get back to levels that they were at last year, Felix to get better. You can have a D-line rotation that really can give some teams some problems come playoff time as well. So I think that'll wrap up the game. I will say one more guy that we haven't mentioned yet, or if you guys did, or I'll mention both of them. Najee Johnson early on in the game obviously gave up that miscommunication with Drew Tranquil. Now he responded by saying that I'm never going to leave Drake London as long as I'm on this football field the rest of the game, and he did it effectively. I thought he had a really good game after that first kind of struggle play from that standpoint, and I'll also say Mr. Jalen Watson turned in another good performance. That man has solidified himself as a cornerback two on this team. Point blank period. Shout out to Watson, man. He's doing a really good job. Opposite of obviously what Trent McDuffie's bringing as far as his normal elite play. It's really good to see that when the lights have come on, Jalen Watson has stepped up and been that cornerback too from that aspect. So we will put that Sunday night football game in which the Atlanta Falcons had their Super Bowl versus us in the books. And now we will move on to week 4, of course. Major news coming out. What it was last week, of course, Kareem Hunt got signed to the practice squad. Today, or I should say yesterday, he got elevated and signed to the active 53-man roster. He's expected to play on Sunday in LA versus the Chargers as well. He also went to the podium today and had some things and thoughts to kind of get out. He talked about kind of the process of talking to Andy Reid when he first came in, also talking to Mahomes, staying close to Mahomes and the guys during the, Mahomes' wedding years ago. and how he was really excited to see Andy Reid win multiple Super Bowls and was excited for this team to win multiple Super Bowls because of the friends that he had on the team. And now he said that his goal, ultimately speaking, is to make sure this team goes out there and wins its third straight Super Bowl. And he wants to be able to do whatever is necessary to hoist that Lombardi trophy. He's motivated. He's excited to be back. And it's great to have him back from the standpoint. I'm somebody that believes in second chances. I think that, you can, apologize to the right people, take responsibility for the situations, mature, get better. And it seems like Kareem Hunt has done so. And it's great to see that he's found his way back to Chiefs Kingdom. But as far as you guys are concerned, Kareem Hunt being back, any thoughts? What do you guys expect maybe the role to look like, obviously? But just overall thoughts about Kareem Hunt being back.
I love it. Everything that we said last week is what we needed. Obviously, Carson still stepped up. Samaje Perine stepped up in the absence of Pacheco this week, and you got to tip your hats off to them. But everything that this running back room needed for depth, all three of us and everybody in Kingdom Cast included, we were all screaming for us to get a running back in the draft and in the offseason, and they did that. I would have liked Kareem to be here during training camp. That would have been nice, so we wouldn't have to have this transition period. That would have been nice to see. But the fact that he's here now, you couldn't ask for a better guy to know the system, know the expectations, know the locker room, familiarity with the team, familiarity with the coach and the quarterback, and to come in flawlessly and come in and now he's ready to go. Seems like he's locked in mentally. You can see the joy in his face and the pressure today. Some people in the building that we know have told us he's excited and ready to go. So I can't wait to see him back on the field. Obviously, this is a long time coming. No, nobody thought we would see this day. But if somebody would have showed you this picture in 2018, he would have called you a fool. So the fact that we're here now, we might as well enjoy it and get ready for the moment. So I fully expect Kareem to go out there and play well. The snap share, I expect it to be maybe – I'll probably say 40, 30, 30. Like, it'll probably be still Carson still should get a bulk of the carry because he's been the guy. You're going to give all this to be Samaje Perine his third down snaps, and then you'll sprinkle in some Kareem Hunt because this is his first game this year. He wasn't in training camp full time, so you want to get his legs back acclimated as well. But I expect him to have some good snaps this week with the Chargers. They haven't been amazing at stopping the run either. They've had some guys get off on them, so this is a good opportunity for him to get going. But I think he'll have like a couple of snaps here and there. They won't give him the full workload, but I think eventually – in a couple of weeks, he should take over the RB1 spot at some point. I think he's that talented, but we'll see how it goes for sure.
DG, what about you?
Yeah, man, from a morale standpoint, I love having him back in the city. I'm just like you, what you said, D-Mac, that I love second chances. I love seeing guys be able to go out there and get another opportunity. And I think that this is a time that I think he's going to really embrace it. Time, I think he's matured a lot. I watched his presser earlier today. You could clearly tell the past is the past with him, and he's ready to move on and do great things in his career. Still at this point, still got a lot of football left. I feel like in him. Don't think he's done just yet. So to have him here, I think it really helps them. I think in a spot that they kind of don't have that. Well, they kind of don't have that role for right now, which is that kind of change of pace and also pass protection. At this point, I kind of get Jared McKinnon kind of vibes with bringing him into town, a similar role that he can kind of play as far as being Pat's personal security guard out there on certain downs. I think that's something that Jared McKinnon really thrived and shined at. Or whatever. I think he helps them also in the passing game as well. We know, what kind of receiver he can be, especially on those screens and short routes, check downs and stuff like that. He's not a very easy guy to just take down. You got to send 2-3 guys to Kareem at this point. So I do believe that this weekend that Andy kind of slowly works him in. I don't think he tries to put too much on his plate early on, but I do think at some point in time as we go further along in the season, especially when Isaiah returns as well too, that'll create a nice little 1-2 punch between the two of them. And I think he's ready, man. The talks out of the practice field is that he's in really good shape. That he looked great and in a lot of his practice reps. And of course, everybody's going to look great when there's no pads on and things of that nature. But, Kareem's a pro at this point. He's been in the league long enough that he knows what to do. He knows his job and he knows what he's here for. So I'm glad to have him back in the city. He seemed really excited in his presser today, and all smiles and ready to see what he can do on Sunday.
Still catch that ball. That's all I need him to do on third down and pass pro.
Right.
We ain't asking for too much. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. Sorry. No, look, I'm happy to have him back. I do think that there is a certain level of he can take over this backfield, not like push any one of these guys, because I think P. Ryan's still going to get his snaps, particularly on passing downs. I think Carson Steele is still extremely useful, either as a change of pace back, but specifically in short yardage as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see what he looks like, how much of that athleticism he has left. I did a little bit of charting as well for his plays last year. He showed some of that explosion as far as being able to create some long runs as well, over at least, explosive runs, I should say, over 10 plus yards. And a lot of times when they were run stuff, it was more of an issue as far as the blocking was concerned, not necessarily by his own limitations. So, and obviously he spoke about having the hernia surgery he had over the offseason as well. So if he's in a better place from a physical health standpoint and he's ready to go, I think he can give us some really good snaps. And I'm excited to have him added to our running back room from that aspect. So as far as week 3 is concerned in the NFL, anything before we kind of close the chapter? Obviously, we saw the Bills' dominance on Monday night versus the Jaguars. We saw Jaden Daniels have a welcome to the NFL moment, tap dancing all over Cincinnati. Boy, them boys funny. We saw Andy Dalton go out and beat the Raiders because he took over for Bryce Young in Carolina.
Now that was funny. That
was hilarious.
In Vegas too.
Not win, beat. Put a beat down on the Raiders, man.
The red rifle. Oh my goodness.
He gave it to him. We also saw Jets blowout. We saw Pittsburgh beat the Chargers for them to stay undefeated. We saw Minnesota. Boy, Brian Flores and Kevin O'Connell cooking some stuff up over there in Minnesota. They
dog, bro.
They had C.J. Stroud in hell.
C.J. Stroud in Minnesota, on the like this, like, bro, I don't know what we doing.
34-7.
J-Core.
J-Core is wild.
J-Core, not Paycore.
J-Core Stadium.
J-Core Stadium.
He earned them naming rights. I tell you, that was a heck of a play by him. Baltimore ran all over Dallas and then decided to try to give the naming right at the end. Anything from you guys' perspective you want to highlight or talk about from week 3 in the NFL?
Yeah, man, we stay coming to the season, man. I'll go ahead to you.
I was gonna say Jaden Daniels is phenomenal Monday night. I was driving back from Denver with my wife, so I didn't get to see a lot of it. But when I went back and watched the highlights, I was thoroughly impressed, man. For him to walk into that kind of environment and be able to put on a performance like that, I think he only had 2 incompletions the whole night.
2 or 3, like 2 or 3, yeah,
yeah, which is wild, especially in the NFL. I mean, I'm pretty sure in college or high school he's probably done that before at some point in his career, but to be able to do that at this level and be a rookie and do it is incredible. So shout out to him, man. The Bengals, it's getting spooky up there in Cincinnati at this point. And I know people probably watch this and say that I'm just being a hater or whatever, but I really been saying it the whole offseason. When you have that many issues going on in your locker room, and you can start to see it now, especially when Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow are going into private offices and having meetings and things that, like, there's a lot of stuff I feel like that's going on in that locker room that's kind of destroying the chemistry at this point in time. I don't know if it's they're losing trust. I kind of get the sense that they're losing trust in Zach Taylor at this point. Some of the players are and things of that nature, and the way he's calling it and stuff like that. So to me, it's, of course, spooky. Cincinnati's talented enough. I still think that they can turn it around when they're ready and willing to. But you don't get on it quick. You look up in 3 weeks, you could be 1-5 or 1-6 or something of that nature, and and it can really get bad. So I fully still kind of expect the Bengals to turn it around at this point. I just think they got too much talent, especially on that offensive side of the ball. When you got two guys at receiver that could arguably number ones on any other team at this point in time, and then an all-pro quarterback in Joe Burrow. I still think they can turn it around, but that was really significant to watch as Week 3 rolled on as well too. So, go ahead, CJ. My bad.
No, you good. The one for me would be Houston. Coming into the season, we knew that was going to be our biggest threat. Them in Cincinnati and Baltimore were the 3 teams that I could see giving us big smoke when it comes to January. But the way Brian Flores is calling his defense, man, he's always known for getting pressure. But to see, a lot of my bets, I took C.J. Stroud to go under on his yards because I knew Brian Flores would give him a tough time. But C.J. Stroud was struggling to even get the ball down the field during like even medium or even intermediate routes. He was just putting that much pressure in his face, changing the picture, pre-snap, post-snap. Brian Flores is one of the best in the league. I think he proved that again on Sunday. He held that one of the better offenses in the league and essentially shut them down for a whole half, almost the whole game. They really didn't score until garbage time. So to do that makes Minnesota even more of an impressive team to me in the NFC. Obviously, Sam Darnold left the game with injury, which kind of sucks for them because he's been playing really good ball so far. Him and Kevin O'Connell have got a great rapport, got on the same page so far this year, which was the biggest question I had. But to see the Houston go in there and struggle like that was very impressive. For me to see from Minnesota standpoint, because that's the team I think we can see the most. So if there's anything, tidbits and any blitz packages that Flores used, I'm sure obviously our scouting department wrote it down and keep that on lock. So whenever we do see Houston in the regular season and or the playoffs, we'll have that in our bag as well. So, but they put out a lot of things that I'd like to see our defense do as well. So that's probably the biggest standout to me for sure was definitely Minnesota's defense.
It is worth saying as far as obviously using what another team is doing to a team, in the future. And I don't think you'll necessarily see it. A lot of it, should it happen, obviously we play do we play the Texans? We play the Texans later on this year. I don't know if it's necessarily going to happen in that regular season matchup, but again, saving it for the playoffs. Brian Flores blitzed, I think it was on 60% of the second downs in that game.
Crazy.
And again, for a team that really wants to stay ahead of the sticks and run the ball effectively, that's a very difficult thing to combat. And this was a test for me of C.J. Stroud as saying, hey, this is going to be difficult. They're going to change the picture. They're going to give you sim pressures. You're going to have to be able to combat that. That's something that he didn't necessarily face a lot of last year. And this was the first test in which he failed. We know Steve Spagnuolo loves to live in that world. So that's something to look out for should that matchup end up happening down the road as well. But yeah, so we'll obviously have our power rankings going on a little bit later on in the show. But it is time to get into Chiefs and Chargers Week 4 in LA. First and foremost, the Chargers are going through hell as far as the health concerns are.
Isn't this normal for the Chargers? This is normal for them.
This is normal territory for us.
It's like another year for the Chargers. All over.
Listen.
Jim Harbaugh don't matter who the coach is. They just get hurt. It is what it is.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at injuries or anything.
No, not at them.
It's
It's
like
the Chargers.
the parody is just wild.
There's no way around the phone Chargers, man. They are who they are.
They are who they are. The same way I said the Jags are going Jags, the Chargers are going Chargers. So this is the injury report right now that the Chargers are facing. Joe Alt got hurt with his knee. Seems like he's iffy to possibly play, but they're saying leaning probably no. Joey Bosa with the hip, very questionable to play. Junior Colson's been not really able to get back from that hamstring left. Yet, I should say, they've had a few limited participants. Khalil Mack with a rest day. And that we'll get into that a little bit later on. Trey Pipkins, who is their backup tackle to Joe Alt, also out. Seems like he's not going to end up being able to play. Rashawn Slater, strained pec. Looks like that's going to have him missed a few times. That's probably not going to allow him to play as well. So they're going to be down to 4th, 5th string tackles most likely as far as that's concerned. And that's before we get into the guy that's had that quarterback next to him, Justin Herbert, dealing with an ankle injury on top of the plantar fasciitis issue that he had preseason flare up as well. So it presents a lot of opportunities for the defense to get after him. And obviously, you see our injury report up there as well. We had full participants across the board. Everybody on the 53-man roster did end up practicing today. But yes, so getting into this specific game, Chiefs offense versus the Chargers defense. And I wanted to start here specifically because I think it's been super underrated from the standpoint of the Chargers haven't necessarily faced the toughest of competition. Obviously, the Steelers last week, obviously were able to beat them the 20-10 game. But the Chargers have sneakily been one of the best defenses in the NFL to this point, just from pure statistics standpoint. You can obviously argue the quality of competition, but they have done an excellent job of limiting explosive plays. They played a bunch of cover 2, a bunch of cover 3 standard. They haven't blitzed a lot, haven't gotten a lot of pressure. but they've just been able to flood the zones and keep everything in front of them from that aspect. Been pretty good on the ground as well. So you got to give them a lot of credit from that standpoint and being able to put themselves into some pretty good positions. So ultimately speaking, this is a challenge for this Chiefs offense to kind of get on track a little bit more. We saw them move the ball effectively versus the Falcons. We've seen them been pretty okay in moving the ball versus the Ravens and Bengals, but I think they got to be able to put out a much better game necessarily to be able to combat what we have seen so far from this Chargers defense. How do you guys feel about this matchup from the Chiefs offense's perspective?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I know that they're dealing with some of the injuries over there. Also,
and isn't Derwin James not playing this week?
Yeah,
he's
James
out. Yeah,
won't be out there as well either.
Did forget to mention that Derwin James is suspended for this
game
because he keeps leading with helmet.
Like, when it rains, it pours for the Chargers. Man.
Boy, oh boy! Anybody? Y'all got a Charger? Y'all got a Charger?
Yeah.
Y'all got a Charger?
Yeah, man. I think this offense can afford to really have a bounce back, I guess you could say, kind of game as far as
a clean game, no turnover.
Clean game. I think if they play a clean game, they should be able to move the ball effectively. I think that's the only thing that can really slow them down at this point is just, not being able to take care of the ball. And a lot of that this year kind of has been on 15, to make, a little bit better decisions. So I think this week, though, you do see a lot more focus from that offense. I don't think that they're really happy or impressed by their performances these last couple of weeks, especially the last 2 weeks. So this is a division opponent. These games really mean something, especially when you're chasing for your 9th division title in a row at this point. So this is where your football season really starts. Especially against your division. So I feel like there'll be a lot more focus. And execution wise, I would love to see them hit some of those shots to Xavier. Probably try to go to him early on just to kind of soften that defense up or whatever, get them kind of thinking about some things or whatever at that point. Especially with Derwin James being out, not having one of the better safeties in the game back there, I think gives a lot of opportunity for us to really test the field downfield, at least at this point in this game. So. We'll see how they come out execution-wise, but still hope that they run the ball effectively against this team. I think that's going to help them out a lot, but I think it's pretty simple this week. Just take care of that pill, man, and just move the ball, and I think the points will come.
Absolutely. Couldn't have did it better myself. No turnovers. I don't care what we do this week. On paper, we should blow this team out by 2 possessions, but knowing us, we probably won't. We don't take teams as seriously unless they talk trash to us. So, and my head says we should beat this team by 14 points, but my heart saying it's going to be a 1-possession game because we just don't like the
Harrison Butker field goal.
Harrison Butker for the win. That's usually what we love to do. We just like Pat says, we're good for ratings, so we don't like to make teams or people turn the TV off. So, like DG said, they're going through a lot of injuries right now. Derwin James not being out there is probably the biggest one for me. He's out the leader of that defense. He gets everyone set up. He want to set the tone as far as over the middle, not letting you come across the middle, making catches, having big plays in the run game as well. Obviously, him not being on the field is a big game changer for them because now when we have our middle of the field zone beaters like Rashee Rice, like Travis Kelce, those guys are known for eating up the middle of the field as well. During the passing attack, it's going to be even harder for the Chargers to try to stop those 2 guys. And if they have to bring a safety down to cover those guys, then we could take shots to Xavier Worthy over the top. We can get other guys involved like Watson as well, and Noah Gray, and Juju being involved in the red zone as well. It's just so many weapons for us from an offensive standpoint. It's just hard for the Chargers to go out there and try to combat that. So I expect to see a lot of 2 high like we've seen all year. They're going to make us run the football, and I think Kareem Hunt could have an opportunity to come in and make an impact on this team running the football, even though Carson Steele and Samaje Perine had a great week 3 for us in Atlanta. I think he could come in and give us a little spark to DG's point earlier. So from an offensive standpoint, we can really do whatever we want. There's really nothing this offense can't do this week. They should go out there and score, in my mind, 30 points, no problem. No turnovers is my goal. I don't care how many points we score, how many touchdowns, how many red zone trips. I don't want to see the ball turned over at all this week. That's the biggest goal for me for this offense.
Hey, look, and that's the reality of the situation. The only way that this game is close is if you do turn the ball over multiple times. Like that's the way that you keep a team in the game. And ultimately speaking, the only reason why our game versus the Falcons was close was because we did turn the ball over in the red zone. We had the chance to go up, or at least tie up the game at that point. So those things that you have to take into account. Take care of the football. I think they generally speaking, I think you see Mahomes get back into his footwork base and is able to deliver the strikes on time and on target. They're going to try and take away those deep, explosive plays. I don't think there'll be as many opportunities as I feel like they left on the field to Xavier Worthy, to your point, DG. But I would like to see them take advantage of those opportunities because they were there on tape last week. And I want to see him be able to push the ball down the field. Get that aggressiveness back. Feel like you can go take shots. There's nothing particularly special on the back end of this Chargers defense. They just try and put the cap on it. But guess what? There are ways to beat cover 2 and cover 3, and I know they exist in this playbook.
Seam shots.
There, and Mahomes has all the arm talent in the world to just trust it and be able to rip it. So I'd like to see 1 or 2 explosive pass plays, but ultimately speaking, take care of the football and on offense. And look, this is a key game from the aspect of you assume that Bosa is probably going to play. Mac is just a rest day, so you expect them to play as well. They're not going to blitz you. They are going to try and win with 4. This offensive line handles its job and handles what their matchup is, does its job, gives Mahomes the time to attack. It should not be an issue from the aspect of being able to put points on the board. This was certainly going to be by far the most difficult offense that they faced to this point as well. And you also got to say, look, I mean, the Steelers were able to put 20 points on the board. Obviously, they ran, fairly well. They went for over 100 yards. It was only 3.7 to carry, so nothing too crazy. But there are going to be aspects in which this team should perform well versus Chargers defense that has been really good to this point. But again, taking care of the ball, I like to see 1 to 2 explosives as well, particularly Xavier Worthy if possible. That would be very nice to that point. Flipping over to the other side of the ball, Chiefs defense versus Chargers offense. Again, this is a Chargers offense that's dealing with a lot of stuff right now. Obviously, we know they have limited wide receiver targets. They've been able to get Quentin Johnston involved a little bit more to start this season, certainly more than he had his rookie year. Lyle McConkey has been kind of their main target guy from that aspect. But right now, it looks like they're going to be down to 4th and 5th string tackles on both sides of the ball. Interior of the offensive line has been a little bit shaky. Justin Herbert as well is dealing with an ankle injury from that standpoint. J.K. Dobbins gotten off to a solid start as far as running the football. Him and Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards been a little bit lesser from that aspect. This is a matchup that hopefully the Chiefs defense can get some traction, get some pressure specifically from the edges, attacking Justin Herbert and continue to really get play from the interior defensive line. I really want to see them affect Justin in this game specifically because the cornerbacks are going to be able to do their jobs. I don't think the tight ends can really kill them as far as the safety matchup is concerned. There's no spectacular threat out of the backfield that we've dealt with. I know people are excited about what J.K. Dobbins has performed to. And if you give him daylight, he can show it into an explosive, but they should be able to handle it. They should be able to impose their will in this game, specifically on the defensive side. What are you watching, DG?
Yeah, I kind of think it's kind of the same playing you went into last week, against Kirk Cousins. Obviously Justin Herbert's dealing with the injury right now, the ankle sprain. And I know that, of course he's a warrior, and I know he's going to try his best to be out there. And if he is, I fully expect, our defensive line, our pressures, our blitzes or whatever to really put the pressure on that, get him moved off his spot, see what he's capable of trying to, get him out of the pocket at points in time and see if he can actually move around. But yeah, going up against backup 4th string, 5th string tackles in this game, I really think this is a game where George Karlaftis and Felix, guys of that nature, Mike Dana, should really be able to impose their will and really, affect this Chargers offense in a certain way. This is one of those games where you got the opportunity is right there, man. You're going up against some guys that obviously aren't as experienced as their starters at this point in time, so you got to take full advantage. And we Spags is definitely going to take full advantage, with some of his blitz pressures and stuff like that. some of those exotic looks. I fully expect him to be in straight diabolical mode, in this game. I just think that this is a real big advantage for them, and I think that they're kind of licking their chops at this point to get out there and play, against a team that they know that they can kind of impose their will against.
CJ, what about you?
From a defensive standpoint, like DG said, we should get after the quarterback. I know Justin is dealing with an ankle injury, like D-Mac stated earlier. I expect them to hand the ball off a lot to J.K. Dobbins and Gus and get those guys involved, try to keep the ball out of Justin's hands. Their go-to guys are obviously, like we've stated, Ladd McConkey, Gus Johnson scored a touchdown. Not Gus Johnson.
Best announcer in all of football, but yes.
Gus Johnson.
Yeah, Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards, sorry. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins obviously going to get a lot of the workload. You don't want, obviously, Justin Herbert to have to drop back 30-plus times with a hurt ankle, especially going against the D-line and how well they've been playing. They're going to throw the ball downfield when they have to, but I expect first and second down to hand the ball off a lot. And then when they do have to throw the ball, it's probably going to be a lot of play action. They're going to try to get the ball out of Justin's hands if need be. Having four offensive linemen out for them this week, that's a long day in the office. So I know we'll have our betting segment at the end of the show, but I would love a George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, and Tershawn Wharton anytime sack prop, because those are any guys that they get one-on-one, and we've been preaching them getting those opportunities this year. Any of those guys can make a play this week for sure, given the opportunity. So it's going to be a good opportunity for our defense to go out there and prove their dominance like they've done all year, stop the run first and foremost, and then make plays and continue to preach turnovers, whether it's stripping the ball or getting picks. That's the one thing we nitpicked about our defense for the last couple of years, getting turnovers. I think this is a great opportunity this week for us to do so, whether it be interceptions, takeaways on third and fourth down. Imposing our will and giving our offense some short fields will help us get to that 30-point mark that I mentioned earlier. I think we can go out there and dominate and play complementary football and give ourselves good field position. So I expect the D-line to dominate. Justin Herbert maybe puts one up in the air and gives us an opportunity. If he gets hit and the ball flutters and we say tips and overthrows, we got to get those. So I expect the defense to dominate and have another good performance for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I truthfully do want to see this team continue to play really good defense. They've done a really good job of it to this point in the season. And I hope that is something that they can continue as far as being able to take advantage of what should be a team missing tackles, really relying on the run game. Again, this is a team that is one of the worst as far as dropback EPA is concerned. They have not been very good in the passing game. This is hey, do your work on the early downs to put them into negative situations. Not all that dissimilar to what you were able to do to the Falcons as well, stopping their run game on early downs, and then be able to put them in those adverse situations, pin your ears back and get after them along the front as far as that's concerned. And I really want to see a better game from George Karlaftis and Mike Dana, as you mentioned, from a betting perspective. But now that we're here, we could talk about the best bets and game prediction from that aspect as well. DG, you want to lead us off, or CJ? I know CJ's chomping at the bit.
CJ probably got more information.
Yeah, go ahead, CJ. I know you want to go.
I ain't looked at the lines yet, so I got to do more research. So.
I got you, fellas. The Chiefs are -8.5. That line has moved. Sunday night, the line, I believe it was 7. And then right after we beat Atlanta, the line's been moving. So, and that's probably news with, like D-Mac said, Justin Herbert's ankle injury is still not 100%. And then we actually got the news that Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater are both probably not playing. That's why the line kept moving. So it's probably going to be at some point either -9, maybe even 9.5 at some point if those guys really aren't playing. So, because if you can't protect Justin Herbert, it's going to be a long day for you. So my favorite play, I hope this line doesn't move too much. I caught it yesterday. It was Chiefs first half total points. It was at 14.5. Now, I know that sounds nasty because you're like, oh, it'd be 13.5 would be a better number. I think if we come out early, get a touchdown, obviously get a turnover or a stop, if we can come out and score again, by the time we can get a 2-for-1 opportunity in the second quarter, I think that's a very viable option. But I would love that line better at 13.5. But team total, full time this week for the Chiefs is also in play for me. But the first half team total is one of my first ones I love as well. Player prop wise, I said it earlier, I love George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, Tershawn Wharton. With any book you guys have available, those are the guys for anytime sack would be my favorite prop as well this week. I think having 4 backup offensive linemen is not good business when you're going against any team when you go against a Steve Spagnuolo-led defense. So I expect any of those guys to go out there and try to get a sack and get Justin Herbert on the ground for sure. My other favorite prop of the day would be probably the under on J.K. Dobbins rushing yards, just because we've been elite at stopping the run. We've seen Derrick Henry this year. We've seen Bijan Robinson. we've seen Zach Moss for the Bengals, and nobody really had a good day against his defense from a running and rushing standpoint. So I think his prop was at 55.5 last time I saw it. It may be going down, and there's more the week goes on, so I try to catch that line early. But yeah, under on J.K. Dobbins rushing, anytime sack for George or Chris, and then Chiefs first half team total. Those are probably my 4 favorite props of the game so far.
I do got one. I just thought about it. Patrick Mahomes is going for his 29th career win against the AFC West. He's 20. I think he's 28-6 or something like that. Or something. Anyway, his 29th win. He just had his 29th birthday. The game is being played on September 29th.
Oh boy,
we got a lot of numbers theory going on here.
The stars are lining up.
Are we? You see where I'm going with this correlation? You might want to take a Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown.
And what jersey number is he wearing?
29.
29.
I know if you tinfoil hat.
If you believe in numbers and you believe in correlation with numbers, it's just everything just seems like it's kind of coming together. So for me, it would be like something a little bit of sprinkle, maybe $10, $20 that you put on him for a Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown, or parlay it or something like that, or whatever. I know it's probably going to be extremely high value since he hasn't played in a while, so the odds would probably be pretty high on that. But it's just to me, it's just a little sprinkle, because it could possibly not happen as well too. Absolutely. But just going off the number correlations with the date and the how many wins that Pat has to get to, and things of that nature. At this point, I would put a little bit of money on that and let it ride. So,
absolutely, goal line. All it takes is one.
Right.
Hey, I'll go with this one right here. And again, because of the injuries that the Chargers are dealing with, you're not going to see a whole lot of lines as far as they're concerned. Otherwise, I would take the under as far as Justin Herbert's passing yards are concerned. But Kareem Hunt, anytime touchdown score plus 200, I think that the Chiefs do score over 23.5. So I think they get to 24 at the very least. And Rashee Rice at 80 plus is plus 110. I think that's free money, especially in this game in which they're going to play a whole lot of zone. They're going to try and keep everything in front of them. We know what Rashee Rice can do in the yards after the catch. So I like that money as far as that's concerned. And you put it together for a nice same-day parlay. So that's my best bets from this game. And as far as the game prediction is concerned, I think the Chiefs win it. I think the Chiefs win it 27, Chargers 13. I should probably not predict any more blowouts, obviously, after the Bengals game. It is what it is. I'm sticking with it. They should handle this team, in my personal opinion. 27-13 is what I'm going with. What about you guys?
I love 13 for the Chargers standpoint. If they do get a touchdown, it may be garbage time, but I don't see them moving the ball on us for sure. I'm going to go Chiefs 30, Chargers 13. I think we get a couple of touchdowns in the first, a couple of touchdowns in the second half, and then obviously a field goal to maybe even spice it up. So you could probably say, I'll say 31 to be spicy. So Chiefs 31, Chargers 13.
I'll give two predictions because I give my actual analysis prediction. I think it's probably Chiefs 26-13 if they play right. If they mess around and decide that they don't want to play right against the Chargers, I'm going 23-20 with a Harrison Butker game.
Stressed out for no reason.
It's stressing for no reason. Yeah.
For no reason, God.
So that's probably
Lord.
That's kind of what I expect at this point.
Lord, you gonna be stressed out for no reason
for the Chargers, bro. That's why I don't even trip no more, bro. I just relax. I'm like, I already know what time it is, bro.
All right.
Just sit back. I just sit back and chill.
We shouldn't be stressed out, but
we shouldn't. And I'm not. I'm gonna watch the game and I'm like, I knew this was gonna happen. Okay, it's okay.
Just got a feeling I'm gonna be shaking my head a lot because
it's gonna be 6:30 p.m. It's gonna be a one-score game. We gonna turn the ball over for no reason. They're gonna be driving down the field to try and tie it up. Like, it's just gonna be stupid. Anyway.
What are we doing, man? Why are we here?
So we don't get fired.
It's gonna be so annoying. I can't wait. Jesus Christ. Oh man, it's gonna be awful. So with that being said, of course, we can talk about getting back just to finish up the show. As far as our week 3 power rankings, I will ask you guys kind of to start out. I mean, did the Bills do enough to move you guys to say that they should be the number 1 team, or are we sticking with the Chiefs at number 1 this week?
My opinion, I think you put them number 1. To me, it's hard to blow any team out in this league. And I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, look at their schedule. Look at who they played." You can only play who's in front of you. And if you go out there and you dominate them and put the Jaguars on Pornhub on Monday night, yeah, to me that game was over from kickoff. You could clearly just see it, the way the Bills just came out and just absolutely dominated every facet of that game. Damar Hamlin is intercepting the ball.
Boy, oh boy,
this is crazy. But yeah, man, I have no problems or issues putting the Bills right now at the number 1 spot. I think they've played the best ball over the last 3 weeks, and they truly dominated. So props and credit to them, man.
Back-to-back weeks, you beat your division opponent, the Dolphins, by a lot. Obviously, Tua left the game with an injury, but you still dominated from start to finish. Then you come back home and follow that up with a Monday night performance, and you thoroughly beat down the Jaguars from start to finish, who at no point in that game felt like they were going to come back. So, yeah, the way they've been dominated for the first 3 weeks of the season, had a nail-biter versus Arizona at week 1. Outside of that, they've been a dominant football team, and from a defensive standpoint, they're getting pressures and they're getting turnovers. So you can't really be mad at them. From that standpoint, losing as much talent as they have on the defensive side of the ball, I got to give credit where credit is due to Sean McDermott in that roster. So Joe Brady's done a good job of Josh Allen's not turning the ball over. They're playing good ball on defense, and they're getting the ball back to their offense, and they're being dynamic in multiple ways. So, yeah, I'm cool with them being number 1. That's an unbiased pick for sure.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine with that as well. I will say this. I'll be honest with you guys, and look, I think you can mention the Eagles or the Lions. I don't think you can mention the Texans, given what we just saw. The Seahawks obviously undefeated. The Packers being able to keep winning is important, but I'm going with the Vikings at number 3, man. What they've been able to do on both sides of the ball, extremely impressive, especially from a coaching standpoint. So I think they deserve it. Absolutely. You beat the Texans the way you did.
Beat the Niners.
You got to tip your cap. Beat the Niners and beat the Texans back-to-back weeks. And I know Niners had some injuries, but even so, that's an impressive. Absolutely impressive for sure. So
nobody would have took that bet that they were going to beat San Fran and Houston back-to-back weeks. So definitely the number 3 team. Absolutely.
Yeah. So where we're going to go with for number 4? Obviously, like I said, Lions, Eagles, Texans, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Packers. Anybody stand out to you guys?
I think you got to go with the Lions here.
Mm-hmm. Went on the road, handled business against the Cardinals.
Bounce back week. Yep.
Got a tough win on the road against I think a team that is probably gonna outperform their expectations this year in the Cardinals. So very impressive by the Lions there.
Lions will be debuting their black uniforms when they go back home against the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, which would be very interesting.
Fire.
Good game.
It should be a really good game for sure.
Gino indoors.
I mean, where you guys want to go with next? Do we want to go Seattle because they are undefeated? They've been handling business, looking good on both sides of the ball. Obviously, destroyed the Dolphins, which bad team, no Tua, but they did what they were supposed to.
Yeah, play who's in front of you right now. So yeah.
If it ain't them, you gotta go them or Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh,
them are
they business as well. So
yeah. I mean, I think I'm cool with the Steelers being 6. I will say they have not performed well on offense, but they may have the best defense in the league. So got to give them credit for that certainly. After them, we got the Texans, Packers, Eagles. Anybody, the Saints, still in the mix. 49ers, Ravens, Bucks, I guess, for the under 500 teams.
Probably say Packers.
What were you going to say, CJ?
I'll go Texans, Packers for now. Well, Oh no, the Packers got a dub without Jordan. Yeah, give me the Packers first. They got a dub without Jordan Love. I respect that.
2 dubs.
2 dubs, yeah, without Jordan Love coming back. Who should be back? I guess he's on track to come back.
They said that he's possibly on track. And look, this massive game. Vikings are going to Lambeau, leaving the Dome in Minnesota to see if they can get the job done on the road in Lambeau, and we'll see if Jordan Love is back. But again, Packers impressive wins without Jordan Love. A lot of people were like, they might, lose every single game that Jordan Love is at. Exactly. They're 2-0 so far with Malik Willis. And again,
shout out to the
capture guy. Yeah, Matt LaFleur doing an excellent job from that standpoint as well. So Packers and Texans at 7 and 8. Who do you want to round out 9 and 10? Again, I'll kind of run some teams. Eagles, Saints, Chargers. Those are all 2 and 1. Buccaneers 2 and 1. 49ers, Ravens, both 1 and 2. Jets moved to 2 and 1 after destroying the Patriots on Thursday night. I'm not putting the Cowboys in my top 10, so I think I'll stop there.
Absolutely.
So, who you guys think should get these last 2 spots?
I would probably say the Eagles. Yeah, Eagles are
Bucks go, yeah, Bucks, Eagles, or Niners, however you want to put it. One of those, 2 of those 3. It doesn't matter to me. Either of them 3.
I think I would say the Bucks disappointed me. That's a game they shouldn't have lost, in my opinion. Going on the road and getting stomped on by Bo Nix, that was a disappointing performance, in my personal opinion, for what I thought the Buccaneers had shown.
They definitely should have lost to the Broncos for sure.
Yeah, so I'm fine with the Eagles at 9. It's tough through the injury. You can knock the 49ers down, I guess. Do you want to reward the Jets for winning?
Exactly.
I'd probably say 10 could be split. You could probably put Saints and Bucks.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, or something like that. I mean, Saints I still think lost.
Saints. Yeah, I was gonna say that's a very good point. Saints are 2 and 1. Obviously, not they ran all over the Cowboys in week 2, but lost a close game to the Eagles. I think I'm going to give them the nod over the Bucks, because the Bucks that was such a disappointing performance in my opinion. But so that's going to be the week 3 power rankings for Tell the Truth. Bills are going to go up to that number 1 spot for their performance on Monday Night Football. Chiefs at 2, Vikings at 3, Lions at 4, Seahawks at 5. Very excited Monday Night Football game coming up this week between those 2 teams. Steelers at 6, last unbeaten. Packers at 7, Texans at 8, working through some injuries. Eagles at 9, and the Saints round out the top 10. A lot of fascinating games to look forward to, certainly this weekend as well. Anything before we go ahead and get on out of here, fellas?
Nah, man. That's all I got. Well, I do got one thing. Shout out to my boys, that number 1 team in the nation right now.
You dig me?
Doing a thing. Mississippi State. It's up this weekend. It's up.
Let's go. Mizzou, of course, at 11. We had a tough game, I will say, versus Vandy. We struggled. Brady Cook needs to get his ish together. I'm not gonna lie to you. He's kind of making me mad to start off this year. Got to get the passing game together from that aspect. Defense is doing what it needs to. Offensive line has been solid from that aspect as well, but we got to get Brady Cook.
Man, cash my parlay. Bump Brady. Score my touchdown. That's what I want to see. Archie, you throw that ball, score them touchdowns. That's what I want.
Well, CJ, I hope you're not betting on those Bluebirds from.
Oh, no, okay? I'm done with. They've been done.
I hope you're not.
I don't bet
because it's ugly when you started out the season ranked.
Mark,
you're under 500.
Brian, Eric, all y'all Jayhawk fans, you lied to me. JD is a bump. He ain't the same. He ain't the same dude. I'm sorry. He lost
nasty work right there. Nasty work.
Nasty work.
Disgusting
tell Archie cash me out. Brady, I don't know. I'm taking Luther. I ain't fooling with you, Brady, right now. You ain't rocking with me, gang. I don't know.
Look, all I'm saying is them folks in Bluebird land already looking forward to basketball season.
Well, they already
did.
Okay,
we ain't even out of September, but it's that time of year for them. Okay. Mizzou is on a bye week, so we're taking it easy, of course. But yeah, look, that's all we got, man. Chiefs going to LA this week. Gonna have a lot of fun. Hopefully, we can not have heart palpitations throughout the entirety of this game, and look forward to again, another Chiefs win as they get their first taste of AFC West divisional opponent this week to start out, man. But yeah, for Tell the Truth, man, I'm D-Mac. That's DG and CJ. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.